So let's talk some Jalen Hurts. He's one of my favorite guys to watch tape of so far this season. He's been a blast. He's played really good football. He really has. Not perfect, but let's just get into what he does well, what he needs to work on. First, let's start off with a play like this because we've seen sort of the emergence of Alshon Jeffrey to some degree with Jalen Hurts. I feel like Jeffrey's just playing better football when he has Hurts throwing to him. Not really sure what that is, but it is true. I mean, he obviously had been hurt, most of this year, and even last year when he was playing with Wentz, I feel like he wasn't playing as good as he's playing now with Hurts, and this is a good example of it. So it's going to be man coverage that the Arizona Cardinals are in. There's a single safety deep, and Jeffrey is running a deep route to Hurts' right. And again, these types of routes are good. I think the issue for Philadelphia is that when guys were running these types of routes, they just weren't getting open. And so that's obviously a clear issue because, you need guys to get open in these situations. And I think also one of the issues with Jeffrey at this point in his career is he doesn't create separation the way he used to. And he's always someone who has used his size, but right now he's really relying on his size. But that's kind of the advantage is he still has that size, and Hurts knows that. So Hurts takes the snap. He is going to give Jeffrey a chance despite the lack of separation, and Jeffrey's able to come down with it and make a really good catch. That's just a good play, I think. And, it's a great play by Jeffrey for sure, but it's also a perfect throw from Hurts. And I also think it's worth mentioning who they were going up against, or that's Patrick Peterson, who really Hurts was not afraid of, which makes sense because Peterson hasn't had his best season either. There was a time when Jeffrey and Peterson going up was just, high marquee matchup. Not quite that case anymore, but still, he's giving it to his guy, and his guy's rewarding him. Good throw, good play. I want to talk about his running game a little bit. I won't talk too much about it, but his running game can be very effective. I think his ability to scramble, really honestly, I think that adds more of a positive impact to the Philadelphia Eagles now than his ability to run designed runs. Obviously, those help to some degree as well, but I think his ability to scramble really forces teams to not play much man coverage even if they want to. Like this play is a great example. It is man coverage. There's a safety deep, so it's going to be a 5-man rush, and again, this is what you want to do in a goal line situation is you want to play man, but it's just tough to do that against Hurts. Hurts takes the snap. He looks up. No one gets open, but he says fine, and he just runs up the middle and is able to, get a few yards and then get past the tackle and get into the end zone for a touchdown. When you play man coverage, you're sort of forced to turn your back to some degree and just focus on the player you're supposed to cover. But it's really just difficult to do that against a guy like Jalen Hurts because then you're taking yourself out of potentially stopping a quarterback rush, and he can take advantage, and he's also just really good in open space like that. However, that being said, that very thing did get him into trouble a little bit. I would like to see Hurts actually not look to run as much and on certain instances. I saw him look to run when he definitely should have been throwing the ball. No better example than this play. This is when Philadelphia was down 7 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, so definitely need a touchdown here, no doubt about it. The first down marker is at the 1-yard line, so you don't need a touchdown, but obviously you need a touchdown eventually, so you don't need to get into the end zone for a first down. But it's a first down and 10 right here, so you can try and, I always feel like on these types of plays, try and get the ball inside the 5, because it's just a lot easier to score once you're there, because there's, obviously there's less space when you're in a red zone situation. Arizona's playing zone, probably partially to stop a potential Hurts run, and also what Philadelphia is doing is a great concept against zone coverage, and that's part of why the Hurts thing works. I would recommend watching my first video about Jalen Hurts if you haven't already. I get into more detail about how that can help. But yeah, I mean, basically, you have Jeffrey's route that will probably get into a gap in coverage and can be very effective against this type of coverage. Hurts looks somewhere else first, which actually might have been open too, but then he looks over to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is about to get open right here. He's not open right in this second, but you can tell he's going to continue running towards the middle of the field where there will be an opening because the only Cardinal in front of him has to face Hurts. So this is a good situation for Philadelphia, but for Hurts, he's not going to decide to make this throw, and I think he should. Hurts is going to rely on the running game. I see why, because there is a gap where he can run, and so that's what he's doing. But I just think this is the wrong read on this one, and that's kind of how I view when a quarterback rushes. It's almost like making a read, and when you're really good at running, it's almost like you have a receiver who's just really good, where you want to force them the ball, but you can't force it. You got to do what's there, and right here, Alshon Jeffrey is the guy to throw the ball to. Instead, Hurts decides to run and ends up getting sacked for 3 yards. It wasn't that big of a deal, but still not ideal. And, if he made that play, they're inside the 5. Maybe Jeffrey falls forward for a touchdown. Who knows? But you're at least in a really good situation to try and score. Now it's a 2nd and 13, and they would eventually get sacked. Again, that one wasn't his fault, which would make it a much longer 3rd down try. But in fairness, immediately after, this play would happen, which was maybe his best throw of the game, despite the fact that it wasn't a completion, where it's man coverage, a cover 2 man play, which I actually usually like in these situations. But what Philadelphia is going to do is they have just 3 receivers running deep. This is the kind of thing where it's actually not great against man coverage, but there could maybe be a window. You got stuff going deep. You're going to take a chance. An interception is just as bad as a turnover on downs, so go for it. Hurts takes the snap, and look at this situation. I mean, there is maybe a small window, but again, keep in mind there's a safety in the area as well. So if Hurts is going to make this throw, it's going to have to get there in a hurry. He cannot let it hang up there. He has to make this throw quickly, and he's going to have to lead his assigned man closer to the middle, but he can't do it too much because there's a safety. So this is a really difficult throw for him to make. So Hurts makes a perfect throw. Dallas Goedert was not able to hang on. That's about as close to a catchable ball as you're going to get. Very unfortunate it didn't work out, because that would have been like just a huge play in that game, because that would have tied it up. And as we know, the Eagles did not tie it up. So that's just an incredible play. And that's kind of my point about Hurts, is there definitely are some rookie mistakes, but without a doubt, I think that the good outweighs the cons, largely so. I think he's fantastic. I'll end with one last flaw that I saw, where this is the situation, and, oftentimes people blame the offensive line for this kind of stuff, but sometimes it is the quarterback. What's going to happen is we're going to see immediate pressure. The thing here for Arizona is, I've circled this section right here. There are 3 Cardinals in the area who could potentially be rushing right here, so it could be a blitz. What's going to actually happen is 58 is going to rush the passer, but 48 isn't. He's going to drop back into coverage. So those are the 2 guys. But for Philadelphia, you have 3 players in the area who can potentially block. You have a back, and you have your right guard and right tackle. So you can give them all an assigned man, or you can just sort of say, hey, all 3 of you get ready to block. And then for the halfback, I think the decision is you say, hey, start off blocking, but then if only 2 guys are rushing and it seems like everything's good, then just run your route. But I do feel like a quarterback here has to look over, see that there could be a blitz, and help himself out, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to allow for someone to get completely uncovered, and that's the kind of thing that you do see, like Tom Brady, for example. These things don't happen to his teams too often. Hurts takes the snap, the back runs out, 43 hits him immediately. That was actually ruled a fumble. Philadelphia recovered, but still, I mean, that's a dangerous situation, and it's one you don't want to put yourselves in. So again, maybe someone just blew their assignment. That's obviously possible, but you had only a 5-man rush, and someone got through. That shouldn't happen, and your right tackle didn't touch anybody. So you have to help out your offensive lineman to some degree. I never know exactly who to blame on these types of plays, because, well, my gut reaction is it's the quarterback. Sometimes this is just an offensive lineman blowing their assignment, so sometimes that factors in as well. It's hard to know exactly, because the All-22 footage starts like 5 seconds before this play. We just don't know. But yeah, honestly, none of his flaws are like flaws I'd be worried about in several years. There's little flaws for now, but you can find those with every rookie. And again, the good outweighs the bad. I think he's great. I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think we're going to see that in the next few years. Yeah, he's fantastic. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.